good topic to me. Let's do it. We're going live. Hey, everybody. Welcome to our Success Mastermind for Friday, the 22nd of July, 2022. John Lavenia here with you. I need to have a joke unless somebody else already has one. You can come on out and go ahead and do it for me. Where's my chicken jokes? Chicken jokes. Here we are. My chickens are getting big, by the way. Oh, and I was out on the lawn today and I saw a rabbit that just ran off. Okay. So I was like kind of nervous and whatever. I had my dogs out there. And so, but then I noticed the rabbit ran off and there's like these little bunnies, like tiny little bunnies in this little hole where the rabbit was hanging out. And so we got the dogs inside. We went and examined, and the little bunnies apparently go underground. So I literally have a rabbit hole in my yard. So this is just more urgency, I suppose, on getting fences done right and keeping bunnies out. My daughter was like, "Oh, can we keep them?" or whatever. I was like, "Yeah, you're keeping them right there." And then when they grow up and run away, then we'll not keep them, but we're not not putting them into a cage or anything like that. So how do you get a chicken to read your blog? Cluck bait, apparently. Cluck bait. Yes. And why couldn't the chicken find her eggs? Because she mislaid them. There you go. All right, good stuff. Any other jokes or any animals in our midst today? Hi, Gail. Good to see you. You like my chicken jokes? Yeah, all right, good stuff. So weeding the garden. I'm all onto this landscape thing now, right? And thank you, Catherine, for the suggestion of weeding the garden. So obviously as a metaphor. Right. We've talked about the idea that we've got to keep our minds closed tightly against negative influences. I'm going to go ahead and pull up a book. Can you guys guess which book I'm about to pull up? I just quoted it. So maybe you can suspect which book I just quoted. That was actually the third of four things you must do if you're going to develop persistence. So, of course, I'm talking about the classic Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I'm going to go ahead and pull that book up now because in the chapter on, hopefully I can find this really quick for you, but I was listening to this on audiobook just the other day while I was doing other stuff. By the way, I will say as a reminder, audiobooks are great as a supplement to the written text, not a replacement for the written text. But here I was listening to the epilogue, How to Outwit the Six Ghosts of Fear. And somewhere in here, obviously I've got a few highlights, things that are that I have found important. Let me just get rid of that chicken jokes thing because that was popping up in my face. All right, good. So there was something he talked about in here which really hit me when I was listening to the audiobook. By the way, the six basic fears are, as it says here, with some combination of which every human suffers at one time or another. Most people are fortunate if they do not suffer from the entire six, named in the order of their most common appearance. They are fear of poverty, fear of criticism, fear of ill health, fear of loss of love, fear of old age, fear of death. There you go. By the way, I attended a memorial service last night on the beach. It was very nice. It was a tragic loss of a friend, but the message that was shared there was gave a lot of perspective on this brief life isn't like the entirety of your existence, right? So we're moving on. That's what I wanted to quote to you here. So fear, he goes through the fears and then fear of criticism. Let me find the thing that he was talking about. Fear of death, old man worry. Okay. So it was a bonus item. Here it is. The Devil's Workshop. Here it is. All right. So I was listening to this. All right. We're talking about weeding the garden. Okay. I'm just going to go through this with you guys right now and think about weeding the garden, metaphorically speaking. The seventh basic evil, right? So he gave us the six ghosts of fear. In addition to the six basic fears, there's another evil by which people suffer. It constitutes a rich soil in which the seeds of failure grow abundantly. It is so subtle that its presence often is not detected. This affliction cannot properly be classed as a fear. It is more deeply stated and more often fatal than all of the six fears. For want of a better name, let us call this evil susceptibility to negative influences. And he goes on, but we won't. Okay, so read the book. Again, read it again. Okay, so here's the six basic fears, which he elucidates very nicely, right? He's talking about fear of poverty. And there, keep in mind, this book came out in 1937, right at the beginning of 37, end of 36, Great Depression, right? The whole thing, a lot of fear going through society, right? And fear of what? Fear of poverty, right? Here's the guy who's looking for a job on the docks and he can't get the work, right? But keep in mind, even during that time, millionaires were created, right? There were people who were playing at the top of their game. There were people who weren't living in chronic fear. All right. But he's talking about, he gives a depiction of, the beaten man shuffling through the streets, looking through the store windows at luxuries that are not for him. Right. And so, and then, fear of criticism, right? He talks about, how people hold themselves back. Right. And, what will they think? And anyway, he goes through it, right? Fear of loss of love and fear of ill health, which I think is being thrust upon people day in and day out in modern times. Right. So there's a lot of that going around. But he just said, here's the devil's workshop. This is like some evil shit. OK, and it's susceptibility to negative influences, which will cause any of those fears. Right. So if we want to get down into the rabbit hole, thank you. Right. Metaphorically speaking. So we get down into the rabbit hole. What's feeding you? Who's planting the weeds? Who's planting the weeds? Better question, who are you allowing to plant the weeds? Now, we all know that weeds grow in the garden without any work. You don't have to do anything. Just leave the garden open. Here's the thing. We've got I'm recently learning about this. Catherine, you'll be proud of me. Okay. So I've learned about the purpose of mulch. Okay. So not only is it, a decorative finish to the top of the planting area where you've got the flowers, the trees, the whatever. Okay. But it actually has a purpose besides just look at it, right? The purpose is to suffocate out that which is not intended to grow. Do not let those weeds see the light. I just learned this. I had no idea. I grew up in the city. Right. And then from the city to the desert, right? From New Jersey to like Arizona, right? You grow the cactus, not that there's no such thing as a weed in Arizona. Okay. But, right, there's a bit more of a challenge to grow stuff there. And so here I am where everything grows like a weed, literally. And some of you have heard the story of me, and actually I've enlisted my wife as well. We're pulling Virginia creeper out of the sweet viburnum, right? So and that stuff is nasty, right? It's a vine that grows everywhere. So we're pulling Virginia creeper, but no sooner do we get done pulling the creeper out of this section of the hedge work, right? And it's, I would say, decades of neglect, right? By the way, some of you may ask, well, why don't you just hire somebody to come in and do that? That's actually therapy time for me. So if any of you call and say, hey, is John around? And Shannon says, no, he's in therapy. It means I'm out there using muscles and doing objective work with dirt and not looking at computer screens. So that's my therapy. And so no sooner do we pull the creeper and the roots and we're cutting this stuff and these little shoots coming up, these little things, these little weeds. We haven't, finished the area with the curbing and the mulch, right? Maybe plant some flowers underneath the viburnum, right, which is a big, shrubbery, and then maybe do like a little flower bed under there. So we're still in triage mode here. We're still pulling weeds, huge friggin' vine type weeds, okay? But then here come the little seedlings of I don't know what blew in. I've got this app called Picture This, where you can download it for free on the App Store and on Google Play and whatever. And you just take a picture of the leaf of, the specimen of whatever you're attempting to identify. And you can identify, oh, what is that? Which is why I know the words sweet viburnum. I didn't know those words a little while ago. And there's another one called Picture Insect, which I've also used because I had this, forgive me guys, I'm on these anecdotes right now. But I had this spider that was kind of a silvery blackish kind of thing, and it had like this orange on it. I'm like, oh, that looks toxic, right? Is that what is that? And so I once I got the camera to focus on the spider and not on the shrubberies and everything else, right? But actually focus on the spider. I snapped a shot of this spider, and it is mildly toxic, but no big deal. Doesn't really hurt humans or whatever. Keep it away from your dogs. But I learned, what it isn't, and then I learned what it is. Anyway, Picture This for plants and Picture Insect, I believe is what it's called, for insects. So you see, I'm learning this stuff. Back to the point. The point is that these little weeds start growing up, and I can easily, pull them out with two fingers. I mean, they're not Virginia creeper, right? And they haven't had decades to fester. But until I put the mulch down, I'm susceptible to weeds. So perhaps the title of our talk today should be Mental Mulch. What protective layer do you have in your mental garden to stay out of the devil's workshop? Napoleon Hill, in a later book called Outwitting the Devil, he talked about, the way the book was written, he mocked up this conversation with Satan, and he's like wrestling Satan to try and extract, the secrets of how he crushes men and all this. And finally, the devil comes clean and says, if I can get a man to drift through life in a state of chronic indecision, I've beaten him. So all of this, the weeds are, I would say, if we can look at it like this, metaphorically speaking, are part of the mud, right? The indecisiveness, the distractions, the suggestions that are contra to the intended result. I intend to grow the shrubbery. I do not intend to grow the weeds. And therefore, this is counter to my intention. Mulch. In other words, a mind closed tightly against negative influences. And I'll tell you what, my friends, it's friggin' hard. It's hard. Nowhere in any of these like self-help books or anything that we've written or studied did it say, by the way, this is the easiest thing you'll ever do. You will be, instantly and effortlessly, even accidentally, swept onto immediate success, and you'll never have to maintain vigilance. No need to guard the gates. I've never read that. Actually, you know what? I can say in some of the lesser thought out books, or people that just want to get on a bestseller list or something, I've heard empty promises. Not exactly those words, but I've certainly received empty promises. I'm here to tell you that the gratification, which is what we all want, right? Better results, bigger, stronger, faster, more money and less time with less effort, right? So the gratification, whatever that looks like for you, is so worth it. It's so worth it. Like we've talked about before, it's easier to stay in shape than it is to get in shape, right? So constant vigilance, or we could say in this case, consistent right action. Make sure the mulch is covering the ground so that nothing gets to the light there, right? The little roots or whatever can die under the mulch. But the plants that we want, they get light, all of it. This is the hardest work in the world, said Henry Ford, and said Wallace Wattles, right? It's unreasonable. It's unreasonable. I've sometimes asked myself, why don't the desirable plants grow as easy as the weeds? Why isn't it effortless to grow the shrubbery and weeds? Man, you'd really have to work your ass off to get some weeds coming. Why is that? Has anybody else ever thought of that? Just me? Why isn't on planet Earth, okay, here, this thing that we're doing right now, this planet Earth thing, why isn't the desired, intended, successful fruit, right? Why isn't that the thing that you get by accident? And the weeds, the troubles, the whatever, why isn't that the thing that, I mean, you'd have to really work hard? Well, here's what I've come up with on that, and I'm just throwing it out, is that we've got a lot of agreement. For a long time, we've been agreeing about what's wrong with stuff. For a long time, we've had agreement societally, right? And as a race, right? We've had agreement about what we can't do. There's a game afoot, right? And the game is forget how powerful you are. We all agree about that, by the way. And so you get to be this little thing running around doing little things, having tiny little effects or no effect or whatever. And just tiny little you amongst a bunch of other tiny little yous. And I will tell you that having gotten back into publicity, right? So I'm doing, hopefully you guys are watching my TikTok, my new TikTok channel. Watch my TikTok videos, damn it. Like it. Click the heart button. Do it. But now that I'm getting my focus back into publishing, outflowing, promoting, I'm also being exposed again to just because being on different platforms, I'm being exposed to other people who unapologetically outflow, promote, right? I've mentioned Grant Cardone several times, who was a guest on my wife's podcast a couple of years ago, which we're also retooling because we're getting our head back into promotional stuff. And I mean, this guy, nonstop all day, every day, like everywhere you go, there he is. And so I'm thinking, wow. Now, is this somebody playing small? Regardless of what you think of his content, his personality, his shave or lack thereof, whatever, his private jet, right? So regardless of what you opine about the product, right? Could we not all agree that here's an individual who's playing a bigger game? Oh yeah, way bigger game. And I had a conversation recently with a potential client who is playing a small game, tiny little game, right? They're involved in a little like multi-level marketing deal, and they're not making any money, and no surprise. And they've got some little goals, and they think they've got the potential to reach these goals with this little program. Anyway, what came up for me as I was counseling with this person, attempting to help them see, the potential for a completely, a total transformation. Like stop, just stop playing. I mean, you can still play little games if you want, but within a bigger game where you are cause and where you've got big, robust goals. And you may miss targets, but they're friggin' huge targets. They're not these tiny little targets. There is a poem that Proctor in our last book that we reviewed. Mandy, you know about this, right? I'm not a poetry fan, okay, but I'll just paraphrase here. But I begged for life. I begged for a penny from life, and reluctantly got my pittance or whatever. But I could have demanded more, right? So the moral of the poem was stop playing such a small game. Stand up. I think of it like this. You're like a giant drowning in 3 feet of water. Like just stand up, right? But for agreement that we should all lay down and drown in 3 feet of water, we would all be standing up. Maybe that's the answer to the weed versus fruit scenario, right? Is that we all agree. often, I don't want to put a broad generality out there, okay, but the majority of us, meaning the human race, agree with all these self-imposed limitations. This may sound like kind of wacky and far out, but if we all agreed that, that the sky was, purple or, orange or something, then would it turn purple or orange? I don't know. It'd be an interesting experiment. There's no way that I would be willing to get 7 billion people to, meditate on, orange, sky. But I think that might hold water, right? Back to the idea of pulling weeds. Once we've identified something that we're willing to go into a state of disagreement with, okay? So, Catherine, you can't reach that goal, says the world. And Catherine says, I disagree. I shall not be denied that which is my birthright and that which drives me, that white hot obsession, the burning desire, the passion, the purpose of why I'm here doing this whole thing, life, work, whatever, right? And so I shall not be denied. I disagree with the you can't, regardless of from what field that weed blew in from with its seeds. Okay. And once we've identified that we have a disagreement, good. Now we mulch it over. How do we do that? I'm telling you, we've got to feed the ideas that we cherish. We've got to be on purpose, not only in our deed, but also in our mind, because think about the root. Think about the root. He talked about the devil's workshop, right? So here's the susceptibility to negative thoughts, and that could feed all these different fears, right? And worry and blah, blah, blah. Right now we're reading the book, Dale Carnegie, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. So what do we have to do? We'll keep reading that book, right? Because that'll help. But the mulch that we're looking for is like armor. It's like putting on mental armor. We must be able to continually, in a very vigilant state, vigilant meaning constantly on guard, standing at the gates, right? Watching, not paranoid, but prepared. Okay, there's a difference. But vigilance against those negative influences that are blowing all over the place in the wind, just like the dandelion, right? The stuff goes out and it takes root wherever it's allowed to. So how do we do that? Number one thing we got to do, we've got to keep reminders. We got to have the vision board, the goal card, the my goodness, we show up here every day, right? So we're into the conversation of success deliberately. This isn't something that you accidentally get. The weeds you accidentally get, right? The conversation of success, the reminders and empowering thoughts and all this, not to mention the community of people who are also on purpose people, right? That's something that you deliberately seek out and maintain, which is why I've been showing up here for years, right? By the way, July, 2 years, we've been running this iteration of the Success Mastermind. Some of you have been here the whole time, 2 years. Yeah. And then other iterations of it and other forms and labels, I don't know, 20 years. But the idea here is that we are deliberately putting ourselves in the environment where the success we seek is real. And we can go into agreement with that, even though we may not have the entirety of the physical demonstration of that, right? Catherine, I'm leaning on you. So Catherine may not see in her bank account, in her driveway, in her new driveway, and she may not see objectively, here is the fruit of the work and the thought. And what we're talking about here is that the work is the thought, right? That's the work. And then you do the stuff to receive the money, but the work is right here. Okay. So we may not see the actual, product in full fruition at the moment, but we must agree more with the potentiality and the reality that is being delivered on right on schedule, then we agree with, here's all the reasons why you can't or shouldn't, or how the other guy didn't, or who do you think you are, or blah, 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 right? Mental mulch. So reminders, okay? Environment, huge. I had a conversation just yesterday with Shannon, and we were talking about creating an environment and how we have been creating an environment which is conducive to, happy family, successful business, a prosperity environment, right? Today, we on every weekday we meet, right? We're a little business meeting, planning and all this, battle plan. But on Fridays, we also cover finance, mail, stuff like that, busy work kind of stuff. And we ripped through that much mail in like 10 minutes. And most of it is, we got the garbage can right there as we're going through it. but the things that we don't want to have much attention on, for a lot of people, this is bills, by the way. You get your bills. Here's one thing you don't want to do. Okay. Talk about putting mulch. Don't have a stack of bills on your desk while you're doing your work, right? Compartmentalize that stuff, right? So you address it when it's time to address it, and then you do not address it the rest of the time, right? So this is another thing that we can do to pull the weeds, right? Because is that not, constantly having bills communicating with you just by being there on the desk, right? Is that good? No. Now there's another way to even look at that. Okay, so here's some perspective. So bills are simply communications, acknowledging the blessings that you've received, right? So here's your electric bill, let's say, for example. Well, how nice. Would you rather not have electricity? What a blessing. You get this, and look at this. So they're acknowledging that you've been blessed with all of this power usage, and you get to have air conditioning. This is spectacular. Lindsay and I know how great air conditioning is. So how nice, right? And it's not even an expense until you actually pay it. It's just a communication, right? Here's the acknowledgement of the fact that you've got electricity and air, refrigerators and everything else. That's cool. It's an expense once you actually pay it. Right now, it's just somebody sent you a letter. So it's a different perspective that you can have on stuff like that. How else can we pull the weeds? Because that's what we're talking about, right? Pulling weeds. How else can we pull weeds in things other than, let's say, for example, in human relations, right? So here's my interpretation of what you meant when you said such and such to me, and I took offense. Oh, okay. So I'm taking offense. Therefore, my interpretation is causing discomfort emotionally for myself. Could I also reinterpret that? Just like I reinterpreted, here's what the electric bill means. Well, here's what that means. Here's this person who is expressing whatever we could say, hostility or ignorance or antagonism or just they're having a bad day. Do I have to own that? Does that have to be something that I walk around and now I belabor and bemoan, what I think it meant when they said to me? You know what? Holy crap. One of the things that I've had to do recently, talk about pulling weeds, is I've had to get honest with myself about certain circumstantial and people and things that have shown up in my life. And I've had to reinterpret what that actually meant in my life. You see, if we allow people to rent space, or actually to take up space rent free, if we allow people to take up space rent free in our mind, thoughts, and the attention of which we only have so much, right? Just like if I allow weeds to take up space rent free in the flower bed, right? Then we have less potentiality for the flowers, the fruit, that which we're actually intending to grow. So all of this stuff saps our energy. Again, this isn't easy, but here's the price of not doing this, right? So the price of successfully weeding your mental garden is that you're going to have to think, and you're going to have to remind yourself, and you're going to have to reinterpret stuff, and you're going to have to suspend judgment about what this or that means, or what the person did, or whatever, right? Or what the bills. Suspend judgment. You're going to have to be more objective about that. Let things be what they are. Grant that beingness to that person and to that, situation. As so it is. That's it. I'm done evaluating it. So it is. And then we've got more space available on the unmulched ground to plant the seeds that we want. I hope this is making sense. Okay, so that's the price of success, right? Is to deliberately be the gardener of your own mind. The price of not doing this, you get to be, completely deductive, and whatever comes in, comes in. You get to be lazy. You get to loafing, ease, comfort, but not really. Because that price you're going to pay again and again and again. The little bit of laziness that you so-called enjoyed accrues. Big friggin' Virginia creeper with roots and holy crap, and I'm tugging on this stuff and I hatch it. Yeah, that's what neglect looks like. Again, it's easier to stay in shape than it is to get in shape. And I say this as a person who's had to extricate himself from a lot of negative thinking, like hardcore, like for real. That doesn't mean I can't grow weeds, though. That doesn't mean no. Constant vigilance. If you've got a good enough reason, in other words, if your goals are big enough, relevant enough to you, not to anybody else, to you, to put in some discipline on yourself, then you'll do it. And the vast majority of people won't do it. They won't. Which is why I wrote integrity is everything, right? Just looking at myself, it's like, well, when I have integrity to these principles, my life works. And when I don't, it doesn't. So I need the reminders. I gotta, if I intend to like accomplish spectacular stuff. So there's no free rides. I guess that's the point. And I will argue that the price of success is not as big as the price of failure. What do you guys think about this? Any weeds? You weed growing people? Since Catherine introduced the topic, maybe we should put her on the spot here. Catherine, are you physically pulling weeds right now? Like literally hands in dirt, sweating, profusely? Well, you're up in Utah, so probably not sweating like we do here, man. You can't walk down the street for 10 seconds and not be soaking wet around here. What's up, Catherine?
I am actually out pulling weeds and cutting down bushes that have grown wild. And so, this talk has been perfect for what you're saying. Sorry, something in my throat. But yeah, because my garden right now is a perfect example of what happens if you're not pulling the weeds. If you're, can you still hear me okay?
Yeah, we got you back, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I was saying that my yard is a perfect example right now of what goes wrong if you're not staying on top of everything, if you're not pulling the weeds, if you're not, keeping your bushes trimmed back. They'll end up 12 feet high and climbing over your roof.
Right. Well, congratulations on taking that action. I know you're preparing the property for sale, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So a little bit of curb appeal.
Yeah.
Which I think goes a long way. Just to pause on the house thing for a second here. One of the things that we had to overlook when we got the house were things like landscaping, right? So, it's not atrocious, although some sections of it with the Virginia creeper are, but the idea that we could take this palette and, kind of gut it and then create what we want was it's something that's a priority for me. And I think will also fetch, nice resale value as well. So Although I'm never moving. If we do move, then it'll be to a new house with all new furniture, and I'll just leave all this stuff here. Like, I'm never moving all this stuff again. Like, enough. I'll take my speakers, I'll take my toolbox and hit the road. And like, besides that, you can have the furniture. I don't care. I'm not moving again. In fact, Catherine, when we moved in, there was this, apparently the guy who had built the house, ran like a little auto shop out of the garage, 2-car garage. And he had built homemade wooden shelves out of plywood and 2x4s. And he had this beam with like 4x4s nailed together, this beam going across the center of the garage, which I suppose he could throw a chain and pull up, an engine or whatever. And so when we were moving in, I told the guys who we had hired to help unload the truck, I said, you see that beam there? I said, that's for me to hang myself if I ever decide to move out of here. All right. So now you know. Anyway, the beam's gone. We gutted the whole garage, but I thought it was funny. And so did they. Who else has a thought about this? I see Daisy Edwards, Gail, Lindsay, Lynn's here, Mandy. Hey, Gail.
Hey. My garden is completely overrun with weeds this winter.
Literally or metaphorically?
Literally.
Literally. Okay.
Yeah. No, it's no. The metaphor's fine. Mm-hmm. My own little business metaphors just got very good, actually, or at least it's getting much better. And the weeds in that area are coming along good. They're getting removed. But no, my garden's absolutely appalling, and it's kind of ironically, it's because I'm not balancing my time very well, and I'm sort of spending more time on my business than I normally would. And I somehow or other, before spring, I've got to sort this out, or I'm going to have no garden all summer. But I'm very, very happy to say at least the business part has been having a thorough weeding recently. So
good.
Half there, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, congratulations on that, Lynn. And what a great thing to acknowledge is that you're making progress in an area of life that really counts because it affects all areas, right?
That's sort of my argument. And when the dogs don't get out quite as early as they'd hoped to, I say, look, just get an extra treat when I start making money, dear. But we still get out.
Good stuff. Well, and you're seeing into the future, right? They are gonna have that treat, right?
Oh yeah.
And so yeah, you are. Wow, that is awesome. Lynn, we've gotten to know you here in this group over the last couple of months, anyway, and I'm really excited to see where you're going with all this. So. Yeah.
Thank you. It feels good to, like, there's a little but significant corner has been turned.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, one little shift can make a big difference. What do you think, Gail? Let's go to Gail and then Mandy. Gail.
I just wanted to say, I'm amazed at how you can always come up with topics and you never run out of topics or things to talk about. And you talk about all the time about all the different things that you've done and your wife has done. And I see what your 11-year-old daughter, who, by the way, looks just like my granddaughter here, they could be sisters. But anyway, she's now got the entrepreneurial spirit with her online jewelry business. I often think, what is she going to be like by the time she's an adult with all the things that she's learning from you? Even if you're not actually teaching certain things, she's observing everything that you go through. And that's a big learning thing as well. I just admire the whole family. Thank you.
Thank you. And I admire you and your family as well. I'm haven't heard from your son in a while. Hopefully he's doing well.
Yeah, he's had some health issues, but he's working in a monastery and has been for a few months now, and there's hardly any internet reception. He goes home usually Friday evening and is back again Monday morning. And those 2 days are the only days, Saturday and Sunday, that he has internet connection.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, wish him the best.
I will.
Thank you, Gail. Let's go to England. Where's my friend Mandy? Mandy.
Hello, John. I'm here. Okay, I've got lots of little notes written on a piece of paper here, so I'm just going to try and make them all get in order, okay? The first one is, like you said, that weeds are going to grow anyway, like our friend Napoleon Hill said. And so what I wrote down, you said, why does that happen? And I started writing a few things down, but we have this negativity bias, don't we, that we've been told about in lots of our books. So because we've got the negativity bias from history, we're always looking for the bad everywhere, because that's what kept everybody alive when we were cavemen, and that tiger in the bushes that you always hear about jumping out and killing you if you didn't. So I think that's why you have to always keep pushing the good thoughts, because it's the bad thoughts and the negativity thoughts are always going to be there because of the negativity bias that we have within us. And so you have to keep proving to your mind that you're safe, that this is okay, you can do this, you're safe. Keep putting these positive thoughts in, which then grows the flowers in your garden. And the more flowers you grow and the more fruit you grow is going to push those weeds out. Something that what Lynn was saying about her garden made me realize a bit in my garden. I've got some brambles and things coming in, and we get bindweed, and it's choking the plants that are there. So it made me think, so you've got to always keep an eye on it, because if you don't, then it will come back in and it's going to choke the plants that are there, and it's going to take your garden back over again. So you get rid of them to start with, but then you've got to make sure that once you've planted all the good things, that you keep it like that and don't let the negative thoughts come back in, because it will just wipe you out again. The other thing is, so I've been reading so many books recently. I might not be doing book club, but I'm just picking them up. And there's one called Loving What Is by Byron Katie. I haven't got through all this one yet, but so she asked, one of her basis of it is that she asked 4 questions about a thought. And the first one will be, is it true? And the second one, is it absolutely true? Do you have the evidence to prove it? Which generally comes up as no, especially, if you've got this thing where somebody's telling you something which is negative and it comes from something in your history, and who's given you that weed anyway? And the next one is, how does it make you feel? And then how would you feel if you didn't have that thought? And so obviously everybody's saying, well, if you don't have that thought, you're going to feel so much better about it, which is so true. And so in her way, she's just basically saying, take that thought away, because this is how it's making you feel, but you don't need to feel that way, because it's not necessarily true. But you have to go and read the book to really get them, because she then turns it around. She turns it into a different way that you then look at it, how it impacts everybody else. And I'm still getting my head around that. But I just like the way that she looks through everything and tries to work through every thought. And then I've also picked up on Audible Napoleon Hill's Keys for Positive Thinking. So there's quite a few other things that he's done. And as you're going through it, and I'm doing, there's 10 of them, I think, and I'm doing 2 a day. But as you're going through it, you're going, yeah, that always common sense. Mm-hmm. And it's the whole thing, if you can keep those positive thoughts going, will just give you the positive mental attitude, which is what he's talking about, which is then gives you, when you're having a conversation with somebody, that you see it from a positive attitude, not from a negative attitude, and therefore you will react to it differently. So when that person says something to you that's upset you, you won't even think about it, because you'll be looking at it from a positive attitude. Whereas if you're doing it from a negative attitude, you're always going to think about it in a different way anyway, because your vibes are in a different, your vibrations are in a different place. You're just not going to see it in the same way. So I highly recommend going and look that up as well. Napoleon Hill's Keys to Positive Thinking. And then on a slightly tangent, but another thing is that the weeds and the obstacles in our lives, so the obstacles come into our lives because they're the things that are teaching us something. If we don't have the obstacles, we're not going to learn what we need to learn in our lives, because if we had everything easy, we wouldn't learn anything, because it would all be easy. We wouldn't know the difference between, like you say, with the cause and effect, the good and the bad, the easy and the hard. We have to have those obstacles in our lives, because it's going to teach us something which will take us further in our lives and help us to grow and learn something. So that's another side issue to it, but yeah, that's it. There's quite a lot in there mixed up, but
yeah. Thank you, Mandy. Yeah, when I talked about, there's a bigger game afoot, right? There's the only way you can even have a game is if you've got, some unfulfilled purpose and barriers, right? And now you can have a game. Otherwise, if we were all just arrived of something, then that's it. Nothing, no doing this, nothing to accomplish. Right. And so on a spiritual level, yeah, okay. So I am, right? I am that. Okay, cool. But let's do some stuff, right? Just sitting there being is kind of a static, right? The other thing you said, which I think was enormous, was the question that she asked, is this true? Which you could answer yes, I suppose. Is this absolutely true? Aha. What is absolutely true? All right, so the sky is blue. True. Absolutely true? No. I saw a sunset last night. It was like kind of, purple haze or whatever, oranges and stuff. How about last night? It wasn't blue at all. It was nothing. It was black, right? Or it's black with like these little dots, right? So what is absolute? Good perspective. Thank you so much, Mandy. It's kind of like, making the case to talk yourself out of being so damn attached to your belief about something, right? Yeah, that's it, right? We're going to make the case here. Oh, which Carnegie, in the book we're reading now, he talked about analyzing, that which causes worry, right? So what is the worst case scenario, right? And then reconciling, all right, well, if that's what it is, then that's what it is. What can I do about it, right? And then actually putting down on paper, right? Here's all the potential solutions, finding one, making a decision, taking immediate action. Suddenly you're not a victim anymore and you're not worrying, you're acting. Right. So I think when we get into, when we allow the weeds to go unchecked, that's when we do ourselves in. So Lynn was talking about, all right, so there's going to be some work coming in her garden. Okay, that's fine. Okay, I could tell you it's all, you can recover all this. No matter how thick the roots have become, they can still be pulled. Okay, and then like what Mandy was talking about, we can remain vigilant, and we can, what's the phrase I like, to terminate with extreme prejudice any new weeds that show up before they could take root. Okay, so we just have to be able to identify this stuff. And I think that the barometer of how does that make you feel? Well, that's spectacular, right? I mean, that's your truth now, right? So I'm feeling, angry or in some way less than enthusiastic because of that. Okay, great. Well, what if that wasn't true? It's okay. It's okay to be wrong. I've never learned anything by being right. So what if I'm wrong? What if my perspective is wrong? Am I absolutely right? No, there's no absolutes. Okay, so I'm gonna give myself a break. I like this, Mandy. Thank you so much. We get to be the lawyer building the case against our own assertion of rightness. All right. Anybody else? We're going to get together at 6 p.m. tonight, Eastern U.S. time for Be Heard. I am happy to come and hear you. And anything you want to talk about then? Last call for today. Pulling weeds. Very good. All right. Lindsay. Oh, there's Lindsay. Hi, Lindsay.
Then when a storm comes and you get the weeds out, then you can go out and you've got, well, these are banana peppers, but you've got your limbs falling over full of what you planted.
Oh, there you go.
So I just went and grabbed a handful of them, but yes.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. I love growing my own food.
Yes. So that's
Got to get the weeds out first.
the weeds out. Yes. So.
Oh, that's there you go. There's the fruit right there, literally in Lindsay's hand.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Are those hot, like spicy peppers, or
They're
no, just like
banana peppers.
banana peppers? Okay.
They're really good.
Right.
Yeah.
The most extreme pepper that I can ever recall having in my mouth was a little green Vietnamese something. I don't know what it was, but it was like way extreme. And I like hot food, right? So yeah, food for thought. All right. We'll see you guys later. Make it a great day. And if I don't talk to you later today, have a great weekend.